Masnamkele to VOB Voice of the Bay. Good evening and welcome to your favorite talk show on channel 260 on DSTV. That is your VOB Voice of the Bay with myself, Percy M. Tonight, our focus will be on the Safety and Security Directorate of the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. My guest tonight is Mr. or Councillor Lawrence Stroon, who is the political head of Safety and Security in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. IMATU is one of the unions that represents the workers in this municipality. It will be represented by Mr. Selby Tabete. Unfortunately for some members, we have invited your union, but they couldn't avail themselves for this show. We'll go for a commercial break, and then after that, we'll talk to Councillor Lawrence Stroon. Sinamkele kwakho kwinto VOB Voice of the Bay. Once again, we welcome you to your VOB Voice of the Bay. As I have promised you before we go for a commercial break, that I will be with Councillor Lawrence Stroon. Here he is. Good evening.
Good evening, Percy. Welcome to the show. Always nice having you.
Thank you very much, MMC Councillor Lawrence Stroon. Councillor Lawrence Stroon, I will be talking to you and Mr. Selby Tabete of IMATU throughout the show. Just before we talk a number of issues that has to do with the municipality. Firstly, tell us about your directorate.
Okay.
Core functions of your directorates and so on.
Thanks very much, Percy. Safety and security are made up of 5 like sub-directorates. It's like disaster management, your traffic and licensing, security, your metro police, and fire. You know, those are the 5 like sub-directorates that make up like this department. There's about 1,700 people working in all of these departments, you know. So yeah.
Under your stewardship?
Yes.
1,700?
Yeah, about 1,700, yes.
Okay.
I think it's one of the largest like departments, you know, that we have. So and basically when it comes to safety and security, we are also then like responsible for all of the safeguarding of your like municipal properties and like infrastructure, you know, a very big task given to us. And if we look at the amount of people that we have, you know, we are very, very little. There's about 158 funded vacant posts currently within this department. And what I say, Percy, you know, the biggest evil or the biggest sin of any like department is to have funded vacant posts. And you'd ask yourself the question, how on earth can you have so many funded vacant posts, you know, and our unemployment rate is so high, and why do people never want to just like fill all of these vacancies? You know, so I've spoken to the ED now this morning. Next week, we'll be going on a workshop, our standing committee, with the like officials, and we will be planning out as to how we are going to fill all of those vacancies. Because as I say,
is there any funding available?
It's there, the funding is there. You know, that's why I say I cannot understand what has happened before. Why there was no any action or disciplinary action taken against the ED that was there. All of those people that were supposed to fill these vacancies. Because you explained to me, here is the money, here is the vacancies. but no one was employed. Why? Why? Let I give you an example. At our Metro Police, we've got 115 Metro Police for the entire Metro. In any 4-shift working schedule, you have about 21 Metro Police for all 60 wards. Compared to Joburg, yes, Joburg is much bigger than us, but not 10 times bigger than us. Joburg has 7,500 like Metro Police. We've got 115. And the people expect us to make magic with this 115. You know, so our first target this year is going to be to fill all funded vacant posts. There is no reason and no excuse why posts are not filled and the funding is there. You know, so because that alone, Percy, put a lot of burden on other people. You will also hear that when it comes to like overtime, safety and security is the biggest spender when it comes to overtime. You know, I think last time it was about like 28 million or 30 or like 30 million
on a monthly basis.
I think so. I think so. When it comes to overtime, and the question must be
on
asked:
a monthly
why?
basis.
Why? Why? And there are funds to have those positions filled, you know. So I think that we've come into a department where there's only one law, and the law is there's no law. There's no consequences, but I can promise you this, from this year onward, there's going to be consequences for every person that is not doing their job. I always say it, I'm not here to make friends with any official. And if an official is not going to do their job, they must just dance out so that we could get people in that must do their job and want to do the job.
Out of 5 directorates that are under your watch, which one has got the big chunk in terms of budget?
In terms of budget, I think it would be like traffic and licensing. I'm speaking under correction. From the top of my head, I would say it would be like traffic and licensing. Part of the problems also that we have, person, is with our like supply chain. There's about 6 or 7 tenders, you know, from all of these various like departments that is stuck at supply chain for months. Look at the like Safer City tender. Ne? It's a tender for the CCTVs, you know, the smart city thing and all that. That tender has been stuck at supply chain since last year, January month. There's no consequences. Disaster, we've got tenders that is stuck there. Our traffic uniforms, the tender is stuck there. I sent the mayor yesterday a list of all of the contracts and tenders that is stuck at supply chain, and I said by this week or by the latest next week, we must meet with like supply chain to find out what on earth are these tenders doing there. Understand? Because you can think for yourself, with 6 or 7 contracts or tenders not being finalized, nothing is going on. Absolutely nothing is going on. Last year in February, we have resolved as council that what we're going to do, we're going to bring in this like hybrid system, you know, where we're going to make use of like private security. Up until now, there's not even one like private security there's on any of these sites, you know. So I think that we'll only have movement when people feel they are going to pay for not doing their work, because currently these officials think that they are at some tavern or just laying out, so nothing happens with them.
So the threat of service delivery, it starts from the officials. So they are the ones to be blamed.
100%. I would always tell people, you know,
And yet you are the bosses of these officials. Why are you not acting against their actions?
you know, Percy, what I've come to learn, especially in coalition politics or when you're in government, many people have it completely wrong. We think that it's the politicians that have the muscle. I've come to learn it's the officials. There's some officials that are just untouchable. You can do nothing with them. You look at the disaster that we now have.
Why are you just like that?
That I just make this point, then we'll come to this. If you look, we are in this drought now for how many years? And we've got this crisis with water.
We've got less than 30 seconds.
Why was there no official that was ever disciplined for bringing us to this crisis? Why? There was no official that was ever disciplined for bringing us to this crisis.
We will talk more about your challenges that are facing your directorate in our third segment, when you will be joined by IMATU leader, Mr. Selby Tabete.
Right.
We will go for a commercial break and then come back after that. Enkosi ngokuba kunye nathi kwinkqubo yethu i-VOB, siyanamkela nangalo elithuba. Khumbule ke kule nkqubo sizame kangangoko into yokokuba sibize umbutho wabasebenzi pha eBhungeni iSAMU, kodwa ke side sabe kanti siyafikelela kweli nqanaba lokuba size emoyeni. Batshilo ngokunokwabo unobhala uMhlekazi uKordyana into yokokuba nxe bengumbutho weSAMU bakwazi ukuba kunye nathi kule inkqubo. Kodwa ke ngalolu thuba masithabathe IMATU. IMATU yenye ye-trade union elapha kulo masipalato Mbaxa kaMandela, nalapho ke bazawukhe nabo basichazele ngemicimbi babangela into yokokuba bangakwazi ukusebenza ngokwendlela ekulindeleke ngayo into yokuba basebenze, kuba ke kukho ingxaki ne-political instability kumasipalato Mbaxa kaMandela. Mr. Selby Tabete, good evening and welcome to our show, the VOB Voice of the Bay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Percy, and good evening to your viewers as well.
Just before we talk a lot about your challenges and things that makes you to work as you are expected in this municipality, can you briefly take us through about your labor union, that is IMATU? Why? Just tell us about IMATU.
IMATU it's a labor union that is, you will always find it in municipalities all over the country. All 123 municipalities, you'll find that there is a IMATU member. So as a local government, it seems that we have two unions: those that are independent, which are not affiliated to any political party, and the other unions, which I'm not going to mention name, that are affiliated to other two political parties as well. So for us, as IMATU, as the name said, we are independent trade union, so we don't affiliate to any political organization. As a labor union, we only represent employees in all directorates in the municipality that I work.
As much as you are not aligned to any political party, but you do encourage your members to be part of the political organizations.
Well, no, they can in their spare time, but their workplace, when they get employment, We just make sure that they focus on what they were employed to do, and we protect their rights. Remember that their rights are entrenched in a basic condition of Employment Act, your Labor Relations Act, your Employment Equity. I can count as many, your Safety Act as well. So for us as Labour, as IMATU, we ensure that in terms of the Section 23 of the Constitution, for fair labor practices, that's where we check that they are treated fairly as well. I'll use an example here. If you hire somebody as a security guard, you're expecting to guard your property after hours. You expect that person to do that job. That person must have a proper PPE as well, must have a torch, must have, if the Metro Police need to have a bulletproof, if they had to respond into any emergency, all tools of trade should be there. So as Labour, we are checking that before our members can execute those duties. Because if we're not, we've noticed that the employers, it's easy to say to the employees, go do this job. If the employee is in a call of duty, perhaps he's getting killed. You know, the country's got a lot of crime, even in the metro, you find that there's an escalation of the crime. So we always say to our members, first check your safety first. So meaning at some stage, we're not expecting them to put their life at risk if the employer has not provided them with the correct tools. Because the employer will, if it will be just a memorial service, after that, the employer will advertise a position and then they employ another person. So we are there to be the mouth of all our members, irrespective of a race and a gender. So that's our goal as IMATU.
If I may ask, how big is your membership?
You make me smile now. Our members are growing. We've seen the escalation that each and every week we get a member, or every second day we get a member. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't want to say they're coming from SAMU, but I believe people that never belonged to the unions before, they realize now that it's important now than ever to belong to a union, because you find now that there is some sort of, with the new conditions that the COGTA regulation, they want every employee to sign a performance agreement, which we are against it if the tools are not provided. Because you're not going to be expected to carry your job with your arms folded. You need to be able to execute your duty, provided that all your tools are issued.
So your IMATU is growing on daily basis.
Yes, we are a growing union.
What attracts people to your union?
Well, what we normally do, which I think I always say to people, I've noticed when I started my chairpersonship, people used to call us as comrades. But I move away from that word, comrades. I started to say a leader. When I say leader to somebody, a leader is not a qualification. You need to lead by an example. What you're saying to people, what you also doing in public should be the same. So in a workplace, which is our public, what makes IMATU grows is we don't become afraid to tell the member that this is not possible when we're supposed to say it. We don't use word maybe, because a word maybe, it's uncertainty, you're not sure. I'll use, for example, there are times where we were discussing the skills. There were times where we were discussing a COVID allowance. We told our members when the demand was high that, listen guys, let's be patient with the employer. Let's try and meet the employer halfway, because those things were not things that were budgeted for. despite the fact that the employer tend to be deaf when we come with this proposal, but our members still continue to render those services without getting any allowance, which we appreciated as members. So it gives us a growth when we don't, where we're supposed to say no. It's clear to say we must say no. Where we're supposed to say yes, we say yes. We don't hide between the facts. I don't want to say, because the politicians perhaps are watching here, we don't want to make promises. I can't promise people water. Water is not generated by anyone. The water, it's something that works on a natural processes, then there's rain, there's a sun. So as the MATU, we will not promise those things, but we will promise that when any member is tasked to do a job, he render that service with to the best of his ability. That's what we do. That makes us get more members.
As IMATU, how is your relationship with other sister unions?
Sure. I think the relationship is good. We are not always, when we meet with them, you think that we are in the same union, but we don't operate as when we sit and discuss matters that deal with employees. We start to say, no, I'm a MATU, I want to be better, I must come with a solution. We caucus. We discuss things. So in the metro, I can't talk nationally, in the metro, the relationship is good. The chairperson of SAMU and myself as a chairperson, when there are matters that concern us, we call, even if after hours we discuss, and then the next day we strategize on how we're going to approach whatever problem it is. So in general, the relationship is good. I'm a little bit upset that they're not here. Well, I'm not at liberty to perhaps give clue what could be the problem, but maybe when I discuss with the chairperson, they will tell me why.
Your relationship with the employer?
Yeah, the employer, as I said earlier on, is a little bit stubborn when it's come to issues of employees. The council, the status, the instability at the council, it makes us not to know which direction we are going, because we don't know whether tomorrow the MMC we have today will be changed. We don't know whether the mayor will be changed.
Okay.
So we live day by day. So we don't know. As a result of that, the officials find it very difficult to make decisions, because you make a decision today, when you implement it tomorrow, a new person takes over.
Let's leave it there for now, Mr. Selby Tabete.
Yes.
We will continue after the ad break. Masibaleke siye ngasevenkileni, kanti emveni kwevenkile sabuya naye uCouncillor Drone kwakhe naye uSelby Tabete nenkokheli ye-IMATU. Sinamkele kwakho kwinkqubo yethu i-VOB Voice of the Base. Chilo kaloku sathi sikunye nazo inkokheli ye-Safety and Security kumasipala Dombaxa kaMandela, uCouncillor okanye MMC Lawrence Drone, kanti ke umbutho we-IMATU umelwe nguye umhlekazi uSelby Tabete. Yena ke usuka phaa kulaa mbutho wabasebenzi kwalapha kumasipalati IMATU. Ngento zakuthi kwabo ke bangabalandeli beSAMU, unobhala usichazela into yokuba iSAMU ayizokwazi ukuba yinxalenye, izizathu zaziwa ngabo. Kodwa ke sihlabela mgama ke thina nenkqubo yethu sikunye nazo iindwendwe, umhlekazi uSelby Tabete IMATU kwakhe naye umhlekazi uCouncillor Lawrence Drone omele Safety and Security kumasipala Dombaxa kaMandela. Guys, good evening and welcome once again.
Welcome.
Okay. Just before we go for a commercial ad break, you were listening, Mr. Selby Tabete, stating that the relationship between you and them as unions is not so cordial. Why it is like that?
You know, Percy, a very good point that was raised. You know, I would really like us to change our approaches to how we deal with matters now on. You know, instead of the employer and the unions being at loggerheads, I think that we should like engage each other better. You know, I'm of the view that look, when we go to our standing committees, we'll be briefed by the employers, by your top officials. You know, these are the items, and so on, so and so. But we are not briefed by the unions to say, listen here, these are our challenges. So I would really like us to change that approach. For us, even to listen as a standing committee, this is what the unions are saying compared to this is what the officials are saying. Because surely all of us should act in the interest of the employee and of the employer. One of the things that I would also like to engage the unions about, you know, is when they represent employees that are disruptive, you know, that don't come to work, that are ill-disciplined and so on. Because the union must also understand is that it is in their best interest if the needs of the employer is also looked after. Because for any worker who is ill-disciplined, who don't do what they are supposed to do, I don't think it is really morally right for the unions to defend such a person, you know. So I would want us to debate these matters. They also tell us, Chongaman, these are the challenges that they have with the officials, with the senior officials. At the end of the day, the working space should be such a person that everyone must be happy. Because you must remember is that most of our time we spend at work. And if we are not happy at work, we are not going to produce as we are supposed to, you know. So I'd really like 2023 to be a new chapter, not only for the unions, but also for us also, that we really approach things from completely different angles as what we used to in the past. In the past, it was just boxing and knocking heads. Here, let us look as the employer, what are the real needs of the employee, and the union must also look at what is in the best interest of the employer. Because if the employer goes down, the union is going to go down with the employer.
Mr. Tabete, I think you can make your input on what Councillor Drone has alluded.
Yeah, what he's raising for me, it's when he say that you probably need to, I mean, in the portfolio committees where they'll need a report from the unions. We do have a structure, in fact, in a municipality that you call an LLF, where you find that the employer component is represented. You find that the labor is also represented. It's more like a mini parliament, like a mini council. But the problem is, people that's supposed to be there, your EDs, your councillors, some councillors, they don't even pitch up on those meetings. They on purposely collapse the LLF.
Deliberately.
Yes. So because if you don't get a quorum, so you can't continue with whatever you're planning. Yes, what he's saying that, but he must also know that there is a structure in a workplace already called is an LLF. It's a local labor forum, which is a decision-making body that the ED corporate services report all the progress there to the city manager, then eventually to the council. So where, yes, the relationship is not good in the sense that the employer is not honoring those arrangements. So as labor, we feel that if there's a matter that is urgent and needed to be attended to, we will use a platform. Guess what? within a night or a day before the meeting, you got an SMS to say the meeting has been postponed till a date to be informed. That is like a slap in your face. Yeah.
Because of absenteeism.
Yes.
Exactly, Percy. Now,
Yeah.
for me, exactly because of that example that was now used.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying, say for instance, there's a matter of safety and security. That's at where LLF collapses there. But if we have our own meetings, between the union and the standing committee, they could be like rest assured that item is going to be sorted out at the standing committee. What we must not also do is to apportion blame, because when we speak to the union, they are going to blame the officials. If we speak to the officials, they are going to blame the union, and so on. So what we must do is to look at what is going to be the best practice. If an item cannot be heard at your LLF, nothing prevents them or should prevent them to come to us. We've got standing committee in this month. They must be able to say, Chief, here's items of ours. It is long outstanding there at LLF, But what I'm saying is that we must be able to engage and talk with each other. As long as we do that, we will find each other. But once we distance ourselves, and say, and we blame them and they blame us, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the workers that is going to suffer. It's something that has not been done yet. I say there'll be no harm in us trying to do this, so that will be like our approach to see that how could we better these relations between the workers and us. What you must remember, Percy, it is our people that are members of IMATU and USAMO and so on. So it would be stupid of us not to listen to them. It's our members. It's our families that belong to these unions.
To those who have just joined us, currently we are talking about the working relations between the employer and the employees in this Directorate of Safety and Security. People who are here in the studio is Councillor Lawrence Stroon, who is the political head of Safety and Security, and IMATU Regional Chairperson, Mr. Selby Tabete. Just before we go for a commercial ad break, both of you are working towards the same goal of giving or rendering services to the residents of Nelson Mandela Bay. But there are these people in between, the officials. They always feature in some of the challenges that are making difficult for the employer, that is you, and the employer to reach a common goal of rendering the services. I think we need to talk more after the ad break about how can we resolve these tendencies? How can we resolve these tendencies?
100%.
What needs to be done so that this thing should come to an end?
Correct.
We'll go for a commercial ad break. We will go for a commercial ad break again, and then we'll talk more and more about the possible solutions that we can come up with. Sinamkele kwakho kwinkqubo yethu i-VOB Voice of the Bay. Igama lam nguPercy M. Channel 260 on DSTV. Sisekunye nazo inkokheli phaa kumasipalati oMbatha kaMandela, uCouncillor Lawrence Stroon, who is the political head of Safety and Security and the regional chairperson of IMATU, Mr. Selby Tabete. Umba esewuphetheyo zingxaki eziphakathi komasipalati kwakunye nabasebenzi, ngakumbi ngakumbi nalapha kule Directorate yakwa Safety and Security, valelanga yonke loo nto leyo kule directorate. Zikhona ezinye ingxaki ezikhoyo nakwezinye i-directorate, kodwa ke sawuzama ke sijonge into yokokuba unobangela ovelayo kutshanje ngakumbi nangakumbi kumacala omabini zii-officials ezilapha kumasipalato Mbaxa, kodwa ke kuphawuleka into yokokuba uninzi lwazo azisebenzi isigxina, ngamabambela ezinye, ngoko ke ezingakwaziyo into yokokuba zibe kanti zithabatha izigqibo ngokupheleleyo kwimiba ejongene nabasebenzi kwakhe nomasipalati. Guys, welcome once again. I would love us to focus more on the acting capacity of some of the officials in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, because I've discovered that some of the challenges that are taking place are caused by that capacity of acting in certain position within the municipality. Is that so, Mr. Tabete?
That's correct. Most of the position, especially in safety and security, the officials are acting on those positions. And it's a concern why those positions are made permanent. And if you remember earlier on, the MMC said he's got 157 funded vacancies. So the question then is why those positions are not filled. I think the answer there is clear. Your employment recruitment policy of this institution has expired. So it has not been renewed. So now people do whatever they want. So they will keep a position vacant for a long time because there's no policy. The policy that we had, it expired in 2020 in May. I think it's 23rd of May 2020. That is an employment recruitment policy. So now there are new COCTA regulations that were implemented on the 1st of July 2022. So you find that these officials, they don't know exactly what supposed to be following, which is what is following because of that lack of direction. For instance, the COCTA regulation called for the position to be advertised externally and internally. That was the 1st of July 2022. They've implemented some, and they chose not to implement the other one. You find that there are still vacancies in this municipality that only call for internal candidate, whereas the COCTA regulation that was promulgated and implemented in July called for free anyone who is a metro citizen or anyone in South Africa can apply for vacancies. So that caused this resistance in filling up the position. It's either people internal, they don't have a skill, so they try by all means to stall the filling of the vacancies because maybe they're still studying to get the qualification that perhaps they need before they apply, or maybe they're benefiting on the crime because in this municipality, we have a lot of crime that is taking place currently in the metro. So the delay in taking action means that some people are benefiting out of it. I'm starting from the issue of why do you still advertise position internally? Why don't you give the people of the city, the people on the metro, the same opportunity that you give to your internal candidate? You are mainly recycling people because of the expired policy that expired in 2020. So now when we as Labour, we call for this workshop, when we call for these policies to be addressed, you find that the officials are not coming, If I'm talking officials, I'm not talking only the people like your managers. I'm talking that the employer component that are sitting in the council that were appointed by the councillors to represent on LLF, because there is no policy. Before the policy will go to the council to be adopted, it must be first be workshopped. It must be first be accepted by all parties. But we don't even see it on those forums where you find now the poor person, the HR practitioner, or person who advertising the position does not know now what to do. You find it now when you go on notice boards in the Lillian Dideric's building, you can go when you live here, you'll see the position still call for internal employees, municipal employees. Why are you discriminating when you also adopted a regulation that called for everyone can apply for position? You are against for cocktail regulation if you still continue with those things. We've raised it in a lot of forums, but they not seem to listen to these issues. Can I stop? I think I talk a lot now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Selby Tabet. Councillor Drone, do you have such challenges in your directorate?
There is 5 sub-directorates. Only one as a permanent director, that of traffic and licensing.
Only one?
Only one.
Out of 5?
Out of 5. They're acting in disaster, metro police, security, and in fire. So it's true. What Mr. Tabete is saying. Secondly,
how long these people have been acting in these positions?
Long ago, he can tell you. The one at fire is acting for the last 3-4 years. You know, it's the same with disaster.
It's getting all the benefits.
All of it's the same in security for the last 5 years they are acting. That's why I say, Percy, you guys keep on saying that it is politicians that is powerful. We are very weak. We can't do anything. It's some officials.
Your hands are tight.
There are officials, you know, that are very powerful. With regard to this advertisements for internal positions, it just does not make sense. Why are these people doing it? It's because of their friends and their family and their girlfriends and their boyfriends. But I'm glad to hear about this matter, because what I'm going to do and make sure, by safety and security, it won't be for internal alone. That's one thing I can say from here. If anyone is going to advertise only for internal, that advert, we're going to withdraw it, because everyone must have an equal opportunity to apply for any vacancy within safety and security. It cannot be. For too long, these officials have factions, have networks within these departments. And you can come in and you can see, Percy, in the past, how many MMCs were in there, like before me. But things just don't happen. Why? Because officials ultimately decide what they want to. I am not going to allow that any official render me useless. Understand? I will never do that. So we are going to act in the best interest of the people out there, because the unemployment rate within this metro is so high. So I cannot understand why would you want to give employment to someone who already has employment within the municipality, instead of someone who's outside who does not have employment. It just does not make sense. These officials don't give a damn about this municipality. The fact of the matter is there is no consequent management here, and that's why they go along as they do and nothing has happened to them. How do you explain 4 directors, I'm only speaking about this department of mine, having acting like directors for the last 4 or 5 years, and nothing happened to the ED that was there? How do you explain it?
We'll talk more again after the commercial break. Sizabaleka kwakho siye ngasevenkileni. Ndiqinisekile mphulaphuli uyazivela njengokunokwakho apha ekhaya ingxaki ezingaphakathi kumasipalato Mbaxa kaMandela ezichaphazela uziswa lenkonzo ngoba ke kungabikho kwabantu kulindeleke into ukuba banikezele umkhombandlela kwicala lokuziswa kwenkonzo eluntwini yile ngxaki umasipalato usibhaqa ukuyo officials zizo ezibonwa njengabantu abayimiqobo kwi-service delivery kumasipalato Mbaxa kaMandela. Masevenkileni. Enkosi kakhulu ngokuhlala kunye nathi kwinkqubo yethu VOB. Thank you very much for watching your favorite talk show on Channel 260. That is your VOB Voice of the Bay. I am the host of the show, and these are my guests tonight, Councillor Lawrence Stroon, who is the political head of Safety and Security in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, and the regional leader or chairperson of IMATU, one of the unions in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. Guys, we are in our last segment. This is our last segment for the show. My question, how can you improve the workplace situation? You have given us the picture, the plight of the workers, and your challenges as the municipality. Because what we have been talking about here really is hampering the pace of service delivery. People in the townships are really struggling, and yet there is a budget, Mr. Selby Tabete and you, Councillor Lawrence Stroon, but this budget, no one is using it. Is there? People are looking after their selfish interests. They want positions, they want certain individuals. They don't want a certain individual. They want these positions to be within their factions in the municipality. How can we improve this situation?
Okay, first,
Because I have heard in the past that even your portfolio committee, you don't sit.
but it's nonsense. Man.
You don't sit.
last sitting
You don't
we
sit your meetings. I think you are the last in terms of sitting the meetings in the municipality. So, which simply means that in your directorate, if there are no meetings, which simply means there will be no service delivered, because everything is being discussed in those meetings. Those meetings are very important. I would like you to explain why your directorate doesn't sit those meetings.
Percy, I hope it's the last time I've been asked this nonsense. In November month, we said before that also, we're going to sit in this month again. We are sitting as a standing committee.
In a period of a year, because you were part of this collision,
Yes.
starting from 2021.
Yes. Well, then we had our own challenges why we did not sit, and that was our.
How many meetings did you miss in 2021?
You know, every time when I speak, then you interject. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait until you talk finish, and then I'm going to, because as soon as I want to talk and you interject, then you interject. So are you done now?
Respond to my questions.
Are you done? You're not going to interject again.
Respond to my questions.
Are you done? Okay. We've said it over and over. There was a reason why we did not sit there, and it was our form of protest. After that, we have said. Our last meeting was in November last year. Our next meeting now we're waiting for like Secretariat, to give us a date to meet. We've got no problem in meeting and in sitting with our standing committees. So we want to tell everyone that there's no problem with sitting with our standing committees. Secondly, how to improve working conditions on the ground with SAMU and IMATO and so on. The only thing, Percy, is going to be trust. Because you see, if there's no trust, and then we are not going to believe anything what we say of each other. So I think that we need a period of engagement where trust would grow between us and the unions. Because so when we say no, that we are acting in their best interest, also they will also like believe us. Let I give you an example. At Feather Market Hall, there were damages there of vandalism of more than 2 million rand. There was no forced entry. There were like security guards on site. Now, how on earth can you have vandalism if you do have like these paid security of the municipality on site? And that's why I was telling now, like to I was speaking now like to Mr. Tabeta and saying, you know, when we are going to discipline those securities, then they are going to come in as security, as the unions, in protection of those people. Now, we will never be able to find each other. The union will have to say at some point, Jonga man, you are the security, you were there. How do you explain all of this damage is taking place? There was no forced entry and you were there. That the union must stop like defending those type of workers. Because it is not in the interest of the worker, it's not in the interest of the employer for them to defend such people. When it comes to officials that are not implementing these policies that Mr. Tabeta is saying, if they bring it to us as the executive, we must also show them that we are going to act against those officials. Because if this legislation has been passed and it's only been put there like on a shelf, and these officials do not hoya their thing, that means that those officials think nothing of us. And we will have to act against those senior officials. Likewise, you see what must actually happen when it comes to vandalism. If IMATO knows that their members are responsible for vandalism, they must discipline them to a person even before we discipline them.
Mr. Tabet, how can we improve this situation?
The situation is easy to be improved. Remember, prior to democracy, there were different laws which were discriminative to other people. Then NEDLEC sat down, it was formed, and a lot of legislation was passed that protect the employer, that also protect the employees. So I said to you earlier on that we have your Basic Condition of Employment Act, you've got your Labor Relation Act. The Labor Relation Act, it's what deals with the issue of discipline in the workplace, which cover all people. You've got your employment equity as well, which also open door for other people perhaps that are isolated. So we as IMATO, we've always been a part in every meeting that is called, in every session that was called. We always come. When we are invited, we always come. But what it upset us is, when we come to this forum, the people that are supposed to be there are not there. As a result, then there's no decision or there is no report. Because we sit in this forum, maybe we sit today, we adjourn a meeting because there is no report from the ED. ED want to do perhaps a verbal report. So we can't accept it. if in the council meeting you cannot do a verbal report, why you do it on this forum? So then they will request an adjournment to say, let's meet in 7 days. And in 7 days, the report comes, it's an A4 size page that deals with, I'll use an example, the insourcing. There were security guards that were insourced.
It's a pity we've got only 1 minute.
It's a pity now, but those guys are working under very poor conditions because they were employed, but there were no tools for them. No allowances for them, no overtime for them, no standby for them, all those things. So it makes sense to me what the MMC is saying. If the guys come there with a firearm and you're not armed, you're not protected, what will you do? You run for your life. So that is what is happening right now. So the situation is there, but the only solution, let's adhere to the laws of this country, the policies that we've adopted, and no sweet talking. I thank you.
It's a pity, Councillor Tron, we are running out of time.
You like to do that to me, but
What do you want to say now?
Yeah.
Extended
No,
time.
I just wanted to say the thing of Mr. Tabete, about the poor conditions.
Yeah.
I want to take you to some of the sites where some of these
In 30 seconds.
guards are stone drunk. Stone drunk. You understand? Now, when we act against them, then the union is going to come in protection of these people. So, but what I'm saying now, I see that from Imatu's side, there is that understanding that we can engage each other, so that we would make the working place a better place for the worker and for the employer. Percy, thanks once again.
Thank you
for
very
the
much,
great
guys. Thank you very much. I think we need to organize another session
Yes.
and talk more about these challenges that are facing the municipality. What we want, you only want service delivered.
100%.
Enkosi kakhulu kunobabini.
Enkosi tata.
Nenkqubo yethu i-VOP ifikelele esiphelweni ngolo hlobo. Sibuye sibona nakwixesha elizayo. Busuku benzolo. Adios, amigos. God bless.